but I have a lot of friends who have overcome a lot of things, and I've learned from them, as well as my own life experience. And I've learned that there are 3 simple things, and the first one is that they always have a strong sense of meaning with what they've been through, whether it's what they're pursuing or it's what maybe something they've suffered. There are a lot of things in life that we ask the question of why about. I remember after getting my skin all scraped off, laying in the hospital bed that night, and it was about 3 in the morning, couldn't sleep obviously, and asking the question, why did this happen? Of course, I'm a real practical person, so I knew immediately why it happened. I joined Army infantry during a time of war. Voluntarily, of course. I put myself in a position where this could happen. And I don't have any regrets about what happened. I never did. But I knew for me, okay, I knew why it happened. Of course, people say it was the suicide bomber's fault that it all happened. And it was. But it was also partially my fault. I'm going to own my piece at least. I'll tell you, there are a lot of people out there, they're struggling right now because they won't just own their stuff. But I at least own the fact that I was there. But when I was searching, asking that question why, I was searching for a sense of meaning in it. I basically, like a lot of you, I wanted to know there was a greater reason overall, maybe for this happening, maybe a greater good that could come from it. But the thing about it is that in that moment, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see any sense of meaning in it. I couldn't make any sense of what I was going through. And there's times in our lives when we're looking for that sense of meaning, and you don't know if you're ever going to find it. It's just kind of like you're droning. You're just kind of going and just hoping you'll find it. There's a funny thing about life that when you search for something long enough, in my experience, most people tend to eventually find it. You don't ever know when it's going to come or how soon. But about 5 months after my injury, this guy came to the hospital who had been blown up in Vietnam. His name was Dave Reaver. He had half his face blown off by a phosphorus grenade. He went to throw a phosphorus grenade off a riverboat, shot in the hand by a sniper, aiming for his head, blew the grenade right in his hand. He survived all that back in 1969. And he came to Brooke Army Medical Center when I was a patient there. And he and I started talking. We started talking, and he said, you know, Brian, he said, I'll show you how to do something with all this if you want, if you're willing. Of course, I was an infantry guy. I'd been blasted. My military career was over. I had nothing to lose, so I was simply willing to see what this guy was talking about. And a few months later, I got this invitation. He said, hey, come with me up to Kansas. I'm holding a big patriotic rally. I'm speaking there. And he said, I'd like you to come. I said, I don't have any money. He said, I'll pay for your way. It's free. I said, free is good, man. I'll take it. I said, I grew up poor. You offer me something free. Don't worry, I'm not modest. And so I showed up, and he's talking up on this stage. And right in the middle of it, and I'm still wrapped up in burn bandages. My face is beet red. Right in the middle of his talk, he looks down at me, and he points at me in the front row. And he says, Brian, come on up here. Tell them about yourself. Now, people don't like to talk about things like that they've been through. This is like unconventional rehabilitation. This is, I don't know. So I got up there and I said, hey, I'm Brian. I got blown up. I guess I'm still here for a reason. Go for it. You know, fist bump. You got to be motivational, right? Yeah. So I do that, and I get off stage, and being up there talking isn't what changed everything for me. It was what happened when I got off stage. That was a 1-degree shift that completely altered the course of my life forever. As I got off stage, this young lady comes up to me. She was about 22 at the time, about the same age I was. And she says, Brian, growing up, I was raped, I was abused, I was all these things. She starts telling me these gruesome details of her life experience. She said her boyfriend was abusive and just dumped her, and she tried to kill herself twice, and she failed. And she's telling me all this, and I have no idea why. But then she does this. She says, you know, Brian, if you can get through all that, if you can survive all that, she said, I think I can get through this. And that might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but when you're going through hell on earth and you realize that what you're going through just gave someone hope who was trying to kill themselves, that's a little spark that starts a wildfire in your brain, in your mind, when it comes to your perception of what you go through. Remember how I said the bridge between the pain we're experiencing and the place we want to be is the perception of our pain? All of a sudden, I had this little shift in my mind, and I didn't know what happened, but it made me feel amazing in a way that none of the medicine the doctors threw at me ever made me feel. And I told Dave that night, I said, I don't know what happened tonight, but I have to do this. It wasn't like, hey, Dave, I'm thinking about becoming a public speaker and exploring that. No, it was like, I have to do this, or I'm going to do it, or I'm going to die trying. I don't care. I have to do this. I found a sense of meaning in the suffering I was going through when I found ways to help other people with it.